So, namaste, Sumit Segal, and welcome to the Author Experience conversations that we have every Sunday with authors and writers like you. Welcome to the Author Experience conversation.
Thank you so much. Honor to be here.
Good evening, Sumit. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good evening.
All well. It's been a long time since we've caught up, so I'm very happy to have this conversation with you. A warm welcome to everyone who's joined us on Facebook Live to listen in to Sumit Segal, who would share with us his thoughts about the books that he writes, some insights and thoughts from his books, and the several various things that he does, right from teaching children how to write to working with several schools as a creative and a writing consultant. So, Sumit, welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, what all is keeping you occupied nowadays?
Uh, Mainly teaching students,
Okay, okay,
having fun with them, enjoying the language, playing with words.
right. You do that a lot, play with words.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So let's have a good play of words in our little chat today. So to
Okay.
begin with, Sumit, like we do with all authors who we invite on the Author Experience conversations, and you are one of our ex-Karmavir Global Fellows and Karmavir Chakra Award recipients. I think the silver and the bronze and the silver, right? So how's that been for you?
It's been pretty amazing. I think when I received the first one, people started taking me seriously.
Okay, okay, okay.
I see
And
the
and besides being taken seriously, what has the award done for you?
award. It's done a lot. I've changed as a person.
Okay, okay,
I've become more positive,
okay,
and yes, I think because of this award, I was able to grab some good opportunities, and
okay.
I can say that I'm in my happy space now.
Very nice. I'm very happy to hear that because the entire intent of the award is, of course, not only to recognize and reward people for the good work that they're doing, but also to kind of entrust them to shoulder more responsibility. It's a trusteeship, like I always say, to shoulder more responsibility, to learn more, grow more, do more, contribute more, and change more. So I'm very happy to see that that's resonating in your thoughts. So to begin with, Sumit, like we do with all our authors, we would love you to share your life story, your journey of life, right from childhood to now, and all that you're doing now, and everything that has helped in the making of Sumit Segal and shaping of Sumit Segal. So the virtual stage and screen time is all yours, and you shall be visible on the screen for the next 9 to 10 minutes. Take your time and walk us in depth through your life journey or interesting story of your discovery of yourself. And I would love to learn more, and I'm sure that everyone who's joined us on Facebook Live would also like to learn more. Over to you, Sumit Sehgal.
So, first of all, thank you for this honor, this opportunity uh, to start from childhood. So, I've had a very interesting childhood. I was born with a simple silver spoon. They say, typical Punjabi family. And then something happened. My father went missing when I was 3 years old, and till then we have no idea whether he's alive or not. So that I think changed. Maybe brought up by a single parent. So my mother being the father, mother, friend, and the good thing about my childhood is that I was always being surrounded with books. So in my lows, in my highs, books have always been my best friend. So the childhood has been good. Uh, Being surrounded with a lot of cousins, a lot of sisters. You can say 32 sisters, and the convent, and we used to read a lot of books together. So that was. I've always been close to reading books and to know more about authors, how they write books. I've been always been very curious about it. So then obviously I joined the family business. It didn't work for me. I was not happy with it. I left the family business. Immediately I joined this creative writing course, and the family was against it. Why you're joining creative writing course? You have the business right in front of you. I didn't want to do that. So that was the time when I was doing creative writing course. I met Manju Kapoor. So she was one of the first Indian authors I read. Difficult Daughters was the book. And I was, crazy. I was going crazy. People go crazy for Bollywood actors. I was going crazy for, meeting the authors. And that to Manju Kapoor. So that was the time when I met Mridula Koshi was also there. She was also one of the mentors, and she introduced me to book launches. So book launches, I was amazed. I was surprised to see the book launches are happening on stage where another celebrated author is there. And then I started meeting, started reading more Indian authors. Then Facebook happened. I started sending friend requests to authors and chatting with them, talking about their books. And that's how I met Manjari Prabhu. And she has been a very important part of, my life where I am right now. Starting with Pune International Literature Festival. I volunteered there and took care of the authors and the sessions. So that's how I, entered the literary world. And obviously, at the back of my, mind. So at the back of my mind, something was, you can say, building up in my mind. I want to write something. I want to write something about my own life because, I firmly believe in Toni Morrison's quote that if there's a book that you want to read but it hasn't been written yet, so then you must write it. So I was like, oh, I have a very good story. At the age of 3, the father goes missing, the mother is pregnant with the baby girl to be born, and then how we are how the life goes through ups and downs, all these things. So I had some very very interesting things to write about and release the pain, whatever was there. And then that's how I came up with my Chameleon Soul, which is a piece of realistic fiction that is based on, obviously, the 40% of the book was say realistic fiction. It's full of emotions, laughter, drama, swings of inspirations, you can say, or I don't know whether you call it inspiration because it's from my own life and life of my loved ones. And then obviously I, with the help of, with the inputs from Manjari Prabhu, I started Butterfly and the Bee, a literary agency in which I was able to, showcase around 500 plus authors. We did around 90 plus book launches, literary events, readers, writers meet, poetry retreat. It was an amazing, journey with Butterfly and the Bee. And then everybody started doing what we were doing, what I was doing. And then I was like, but I was not happy. Trust me, I was not happy, introducing authors, being with authors, my superstars. Something was missing. And obviously, then, my niece and nephew came in my life. And when they started talking, when they started going to school, they were like, Mamu, you are reading so many books, you are doing so much of creative stuff. Why don't you do a summer camp for us? So I was like, okay, let me do a summer camp for you guys. And I ended up having 20 students with me, and I had so much of fun with these young ones, young minds. They have so much to share, so much to, talk about. And this is how I started my Young Dragons English Club. Started with around 8 students. Now I have around 70 plus students, and I am just enjoying my life with them. And started with the motto that I firmly believe in, Dr. Daisaku Ekada, that be bright, be considerate, be tenacious. So this is what I teach my students. And so I wanted to do something interesting, something different from what other people had been doing. So Young Dragons English, so I started this club, and this club is not about only the curriculum that the other uh, uh, initiatives are doing. I wanted to have fun with them, and I wanted them to have fun. So, creative writing with a twist, playing games with them, and then came up with, an idea of, doing so much of creative writing, short stories with them. Why not get them published with, my goodwill? And I gave this idea to all my students. They were excited. You won't believe, a 5-year-old, girl. So she was like, I also want to write a story for the book. And then I was like, okay, you do one thing, you won't be able to type, you won't be able to write. And she's a very good storyteller. I was like, you tell your story to your mother. This is the theme for you. And she came up with such an awesome,
And
idea.
who was this girl? What is her name?
Her name is Krisha Anand.
Okay, okay.
So she, and I told her, never give up.
Hmm.
The idea is never give up. She came up with a very beautiful story. And she got published. And then we launched the book with, all 60 students. And that was the, I was like, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do, to, be with the students, because I believe that, these young minds are future leaders, and they are on the verge of becoming global citizens. So this is the right time. And, this platform is, national, international. I'm trying to give them, whatever opportunities come my way. So this is how it has been.
Brilliant. That's a great journey in the literary world. And what is the reason that you got you were unhappy with doing work in the literary space? What led to that unhappiness?
I don't know whether I should say this. So when you write a book
Right.
and when it's about to get published,
Hmm.
I don't know what comes to the mind that you feel that you have become an established author and the demand increases.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you offer, if I'm offering 10 things,
Right.
they want 20 more.
Right.
So the satisfaction was not there with, with the clients, you can say. So always hungry for, even if you've written, anthology of poems.
Mm.
So if you've written an anthology of poems, how
Mm.
can you think that you become a Shashi Tharoor? You know, so that kind of thing was always happening.
And I don't really like that analogy or trying to say that to become a Sashitura. I don't have much regard for him. I'm sorry to say that. So
That's why I said, I know about it.
yeah. So okay, you were doing that to provoke me. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about Ruskin Bond or Sudha
Yes.
Murthy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what has, and it's not that initially it was happening. It started happening, and I don't know. I had this kind of a nature. Okay, TK, I'll give you this. I'll give you that. No, I want more. You have to give me more.
Right. So
That kind of thing
you're
was
talking about the dealings with the writers and authors that you were
yes,
managing.
yes. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
dealing with the housewife is is I think I couldn't handle that, but I was not able to handle this.
Okay.
So
Okay.
even back, even after
So
coming back
I've
to
really not understood that analogy or that comparison of dealing with a housewife and dealing with a writer. So do you want to explain that a little more to me?
no, they say now that if two housewives sit together, so it's better to keep quiet. That's what I've been listening from my
Okay.
friends who are married.
Okay. Okay. And that could be very sexist, of course, but all right. Okay. So I absolutely kind of relate with what you're saying about writers. In fact, there is a trend that you see nowadays, uh, Sumit, and since you've been working with a lot of young writers, uh, students and children and young budding youth writers, right? There's a trend that you observe on a Instagram or a Facebook. Almost every second guy is a self-published writer, and almost every second or third guy is a TEDx speaker, right? And it kind of disturbs me a lot because the whole idea of just getting a self-published book and distributing 5 or 10 copies and putting up that cover over there is very defeating, because you're not only kind of forget fooling the audience, you're actually fooling yourself, because it's simply self glory and vain glory. You're only kind of massaging your own ego, and it's actually kind of a mental health problem, right? Because you are looking for some validation in a false portrayal, right? You are not traditionally published, and even if you're self-published, there's not much you've done to kind of promote and sell your book, except for probably kind of giving 5 or 50 copies to some family members and friends who've not even read it. That is one. Secondly, this trend of saying I'm a TEDx speaker, and I kind of abhor it because most of the times a TEDx is held in a school or a college. It's a forced audience, right? The students or the college alma mater is kind of forced to go and sit for that talk, and a lot of speakers come and talk like their life story is the most inspiring. They don't really have any insights to share. They don't really have any inspiration to share, and it defeats me because I've spoken in a couple and I refuse to speak in them because I'm not a big fan of TED again, right? uh, but what are your thoughts on this?
No, it is actually a very sad situation. And I don't know. I think it's all because of social media. It's all because of it's I think started with Facebook.
It's more because people are trying to portray something that they're not. I mean, it's
Yes.
all about projection. It's not about being real, and it's unfortunately a very sad trend because you are teaching children, you're teaching the youth to be fake rather than to be the real them, right? And in a lot of these children's lives and a lot of these youth's lives, the parents are to blame because they are actually pushing their children to do this without realizing that it's actually kind of self-defeating, self-cheating, and could lead to some major emotional, mental health, and self-esteem issues in the future. And I'm relating this to what you said, and when you gave me that comparison of housewives, I thought you were basically kind of trying to talk about mothers who sometimes, as they're called, the helicopter mothers or the tiger mothers, who kind of force their children to go for 10,000 courses. I mean, the child is 7 years old, right? I mean, the child can't have a calendar which is more busy than a CEO of a multinational organization. So I would like to know your thoughts on this since you work so closely with children and with parents.
What I basically feel about the parents,
Mhm.
it's competition everywhere.
Right,
And they don't realize their own upbringing.
right,
So what they were not able to do, they're forcing upon their children.
right,
Oh, my child has written a very beautiful poem, a very beautiful poem. Okay, so I will now tell her to, write 10 more or 20 more and then get it published.
right.
So get it published, you have zero knowledge about it. Zero knowledge about it, and then you're going gaga over, oh, my child is a published, author or published poet, and you have no idea about traditional publishers, no idea about, and you're forcing your child, and
And it's more of bragging rights and kind of to claim in the family or family gathering that our child is a poet. But the child has not really worked hard for it. The child has not really kind of understood that the fruits of labor need to be savored rather than just having an outcome because your parents could pay 25,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees to print and publish 10 copies, right? Would you agree with me?
absolutely. I still
Eh,
remember, when I started this creative writing course, I was hungry to get published. And
right,
Manju Kapoor told me, Sumit, you need to at least write 100 stories. And your 100 stories, out of 100 stories, 75 should be rejected.
right.
It has to go, you have to go through a proper journey of ups and downs, struggle, and, getting your drafts rejected by your, the people you trust who are giving you feedback. So there's a proper journey. And, just writing 20 poems, getting approval from your parents, and then getting published, it doesn't make sense to me at all.
True, true, true. And the self-publishing industry has become very, very what should I say? It's become a racket, right? Because there are like a hajar self-publishing outfits out there which are all
It's become a
promising to
business.
make you into a very famous author overnight and offer you ghostwriters who can write your and you've written
Uh,
several books as a ghostwriter,
None of
right?
them were Indians. None of them were Indian clients.
Yeah, no, no, I appreciate, but what this publishing units are doing is like they're just kind of selling this to parents, to children, to youth, and without really working on their storytelling or their presentation and speaking and written communication skills, which are actually the most essential skills that are lacking with several people working in the corporate world or in organizations today. I mean, since I coach and consult with corporate organizations, I know MDs and CEOs who are struggling. I mean, and we have this as one of our testimonials, where I was told that, even our senior VPs and vice president level people can't write a proper email, right? So I'm kind of drawing the connect over there, which is that, if you're not really kind of investing in them learning rather than all the showbiz that we are doing, then you're not preparing them for life. Then you're not preparing them for the goals that they need to kind of establish in life, for the careers that they need to kind of form in life. What are your thoughts on this?
No, no, I totally agree with you. There's a even process. So, what I do with my children,
Mhm.
obviously, if they're reading books, obviously they have a dream of getting published. The book available on Amazon, even if it's an anthology. But even when you're writing a story, so there's a proper what do you say format for it. And
Right,
let's not even talk about the format. Let's talk about the language that you use.
right,
There's a simple narration, then there is a figurative narration to it. You know, children they don't know about figurative language.
right,
They don't know what personification is. They don't know what simile or metaphor is. And when they come to know about it, they're surprised that they're not being taught.
right.
And then,
Absolutely. They don't know their figures of speech.
yes, they don't know about that. And it's very surprising, and then you are getting published, you're writing poems, you're writing short stories, and it's all very simple narration. There is nothing creative in it. You're copying something. Even we're talking about Harry Potter, you change the name and you twist a little bit. You can't become writer with that.
Right. True. True. And a lot of writers are doing that nowadays, along with the self-publishing outfits which are peddling all this fake dreams to all the people. Unfortunate. But we'll come back to this because we are rolling out something interesting in schools from this year, and with a very clear intent that we need to teach them storytelling. We need to teach them effective written, spoken communication skills, because these are the most essential skills of the future, which, like you and I agreed upon, are not what we are preparing our children for today, right? So, to come back to your books, tell us a little more about the Chameleon Soul. What inspired that book, and what's the title all about? The Chameleon Soul.
Chameleon Soul. So basically, it's about three people. It's journey of three people. So,
Right.
mother, daughter, and her son. So obviously, the trauma of husband missing, and children don't know about their father. So how from childhood to adolescent to adulthood. So what? So all these phases they go through, and they're pretty much in a dark space at one point in their life, and then how this main protagonist Samay starts talking to himself. So, talking to himself, his inner self is what, his soul comes out right in front of him and telling him where he went wrong and where he should go. How
Hmm.
to, basically guiding, he himself is guiding him. So, this is how, this was playing around in my mind. And then, I came across this song by Lana Del Rey,
Hmm.
Ride. So,
Hmm.
in which she has a kind of a monologue in the beginning of the song, and
Right.
she's talking about her having a chameleon soul. I was like, wow, chameleon soul. That's a
Okay.
nice word. And I was like, why don't I play around with it? So this is how I came up with the title, and so Lana Del Rey played a very important role with it, for the title of the book.
Right. Right. Super. And what is the central theme of the book? Do you want to read us some parts of the book?
Some parts of the book, I can read a poem.
Right. Sure. Go ahead.
All
So
right.
Sumit's books, for the people who have joined us on Facebook Live, Sumit's books are available on Amazon.com. So please, Amazon, the Indian portal also. So please do go on Amazon and buy Sumit's books, interesting books that he's written. My Chameleon Soul, and then several anthologies with children, which have been edited by him. And we will talk about that a little later. Over back to you, Sumit.
So the title of the poem is A Chameleon Soul. A hopeless place where shadows surrounded me. A hopeless place where I tried to die every single day. A hopeless place where I had more enemies than friends. A hopeless place where nobody trusted me. A hopeless place where all hope was gone. In that hopeless place, I found which finally showed me the light to love myself. I'm out on this open road. Where are you, my full time daddy? It's getting oh so cold, singing songs and searching for a clue. It's been 33 years. Isn't that enough for you? I'm breaking down, exhausted of traveling. I try very hard, even with the words I write. I'm tired of sitting on this trunk. Why do I always fly so fast? And now, alone in this night, I'm trying very hard to get into trouble. World War III is on my mind. But all I do is just fly, and I just fly. A chance to spread my a chance to spread my wings will be a grand opportunity to broaden my horizons and make my life richer. It will add greater dimensions to my existence and will offer me far more opportunities to make my dreams come true. And I'm considering passing up this chance in large part because I think it will force me to learn something or someone, to force me to leave someone or something behind. I know I won't be missing anything. I won't be leaving out anyone. If I fly when I have the chance to fly, everyone and everything else in my life will soar too. Where are you, my full time daddy? Did you die young without letting us know? Did you try playing it hard or ended up making life an abstract? I smoke all day, talking to an imaginative you. That's how every day goes by, till it's dark. In his arms, all warmed up, sleepily getting pleasures of his deliciousness, is just a remembrance. It's quite hazy, but it is still there and reminds me of him every now and then. I love wearing brute. It's delicious, but I think it smelled better on him. Where are you, my full time daddy? Do I care about you, my full time daddy? Please leave me now. Just say goodbye. Now turn around. Leave me dried out and far above the ground. I love this feeling of being wild. These, these glitters up in this cold night try to calm me. And then I fly. And then I feel they're making me hypnotized. I shake my chameleon soul and come to a conclusion. It's not the end. Keep searching, keep flying.
Very nice poem. I hear you, I feel you, Sumit Sehgal, brother Sumit Sehgal. So that is like a poem dedicated to your father, I guess. And I did hear in where you spoke about your father went missing when you were 3 years old. Do you want to share a little more about that and how you felt about that at that time? I mean, at that age, probably you didn't realize it, but growing up.
So growing up, looking at other, you know, friends of mine, where parent teachers meeting, the fathers coming with them, accompanying them, and I was not sad because I was, happy with my mom, and she, played the role of dad and mom. My upbringing has been amazing.
Mhm.
People tried, even students of, they bullied, and they tried. One fine day when I was, walking towards the assembly ground, a student came and said, your dad has come,
Okay.
he's at the entrance gate, and I was like, really? And and literally I ran, I threw my bag and I ran, and obviously no one was there, and then I realized, oh, it was a prank.
Right.
I
So
felt
some
bad.
children in school can be very nasty. Yeah.
Yes, so I was sad about it. But then obviously when you come back home, you see smiling face of your mom, everything is, I
Right.
I was very strong from the very beginning, but at
Right.
the same time I was fragile also. A lot of men, men, you say uncles, and a lot of people wanted to be my father figure, and some were there for me,
Hmm.
guided. Some were not. So I had the taste of both the things. So
Right.
yes, it's been an amazing journey. You learn
And And have you been able to figure out as to what really happened to your father, or anyone in the family put connected the dots, or it just kind of is a mystery still?
it's a mystery still.
Okay,
I
okay.
plan to work on a trilogy, some fantasy elements to it.
Right, right. Okay. No, I kind of relate with the pain because my father died when I was 8, so I wouldn't say that we're in the same boat, but at least the storm is almost the same. So yes, a child does miss the parent. Any parent goes missing. It's a huge loss for a child to cope with, right? And probably, but it also teaches us resilience. Coming back to your other books, the anthologies that you publish with children's stories, and your latest one is "And the Kind Dragon Dreamt." Tell us a little more about this mission. What inspired you to kind of embark on this mission, and what are these books in the anthology and the short stories? What are the short stories all about? Are they real stories? I'm the reason I'm asking you this is because I write books which tell true stories of real heroes, right? And in the Karma Kari series, we now have the kid power genre, we have a woman power genre. And kid power, in the first book, we told stories of children who come from very unserved or underserved backgrounds. And I felt that I needed to do this book so that children who come from privileged backgrounds, like my children, children like you and me, don't feel that that they are cat's whiskers and they are entitled to everything under the sun, because there are many more children out there who are doing much more, have much more talent, but have probably not had the opportunity, but are capable of doing much more. And that was the reason to write Karma Kari Kid Power, where we featured 22 young students from government schools who are schools that are adopted by the Bharati Foundation now. And many of the students, I mean, not many of the students, but all of those 22 students are giving back to society in a big way, though they come from unserved and underserved backgrounds, and thus are a huge inspiration for all the children who come from privileged backgrounds. So what is the inspiration behind your books, and what are the kind of short stories that students tell in your books?
So, see, when I started Young Grangers English Dharma, I realized one thing that, even with the education board, they are not giving sufficient material to the students. See,
Absolutely.
English language creative writing is a vast, it's an ocean. And, so when I started, started teaching them, sharing my knowledge with them, be it figurative language, be it, talking about monologues, talking about, writing a diary entries, all these things. When I started teaching them, they really got excited. They had no idea about these kind of tools. So when I started working on short stories, the way they were, when they started,
Right.
and, 6 months down the line, 1 year, maybe 2 years down the line, so I started in 2019 and we got this book published in 2022. So I wanted to basically motivate my children,
Mm, mm.
to write better, because I'm telling you, I believe that, they are our future leaders, right? They
Very
are,
true.
you know,
Very true.
future leaders and then becoming global citizens. So the power is in their pen, and starting with, so it's a complete fiction book. I gave them some themes, theme of, say, wildlife. There was a theme of love. There was a theme of, never give up spirit. So they had to come up with their own stories.
Right. Right.
And it had to be 100% original. So they started copying Harry Potter. They started copying, so I was like, it has to be 100% original. You can't copy anything. So
Right.
it was a struggle in the beginning, but the entire process of, handling all these 50 students starting from class 1 to class 12, it was a satisfying experience. And
Right.
the end result, I taught them how to proofread their own stuff, their own work. Their
Mm.
punctuations got better, their language got better, and they were motivated. They were, motivated a lot to, work on the stories and getting them published. None of the parents played any role in it, apart from class one students. Parents, they were also surprised with this experience when they got the book in their hand.
Right,
That
right,
is the whole idea, basically, to encourage children, to motivate them, and to tell their friends, read books. Reading
right.
books is very important, is what I feel.
Right. You
This
can't
has
be a
what
great
saved me.
writer if you're not a good reader, right? I
Yes.
mean, that's very essential. And unfortunately, many children, including their parents, don't have the habit of reading because they would rather watch more shows on OTT platforms or,
Exactly.
or and that's
Why should I
fine. But I don't think that can replace reading.
yeah. Why should I read Harry Potter, sir, when it is available? Why should I read Percy Jackson when it is available? When
Right.
you have to read,
Absolutely.
take your imagination to the next level.
True.
So it's very important. So that's why you want to be a writer, read books.
Very
So
true.
this is what I do with my
Okay.
students. Yeah.
Okay, and I connect that with, where we are rolling out the storytelling fellowship for specifically for students in schools from class 5 onwards. I've of course shared this with you. Can you see the creative on the screen?
Yes, of
All
course.
right. So that's the storytelling fellowship that we are rolling out this year. And the basic idea is to inspire students to do some research, do some reading. And we are focusing on one simple theme: help us to kind of find real heroes in your neighborhood, in your family, in your school, amongst your teachers, or anyone you heard of as a child, as a student. Research them a little more and tell us their true story, right? We are not really looking at them being 100% with their grammar or 100% with their figures of speech or the way they tell the story, but what we are looking for is the effort that they put in the discovery of the heroes, and the the nature and the gravitas of the heroes compelling work that they bring to the fore. So that's going to be the criteria to decide that who are the students who are then going to be profiled in that anthological series of books, right? So that's what we are rolling out. And the reason we are rolling this out, the intent is very clear, the objective is very clear. Students need to get prepared for the most essential skills of the future, which includes learning to learn. As the most essential skill of the future, and learning to learn includes reading, writing, understanding, and drawing inspiration from stories of real heroes, not just celebrities that children are kind of used to following, and the fanatical following that you have for a sports star, no matter how tainted the sports star is, whether it's like a sexual offender like a Kobe Bryant, or somebody who does something wrong, and yet you have students and the children and the youth following those people. So the whole idea is to make them understand what does heroism mean, because celebrity does not mean heroism. Heroism is about people who are making a difference, championing change in our world, right? And then of course the whole idea is to kind of take them through a process, some master classes with writers where they learn the process of storytelling so that they can slowly get prepared for that skill in the future. What are your thoughts on this?
I
A
think
lot
it's a
of students that we've spoken to think it's an idea whose time has come and that's very essential in school. But since you've been working with students, what do you think about an initiative like this?
I think it's a brilliant idea. I would love to be part of this. Yes, I think this is where we need such kind of platforms. We actually, so when I was talking about I'm looking for national international platform, this is the kind of platform I'm looking for. This is actually the opportunity for students, to work towards becoming future leaders or global citizens. I think this is the right thing.
Right.
I
Thank you, and I'm thanking you because you do a lot of work with your students and parents, and that kind of encourages me to understand that we are in the right direction. And as a bonus kind of reward and attraction for all the students who participate in the storytelling fellowship, we are giving them a set of Karmakari books and a book which is yet to be published. It's called Weekends with Zoe, and it's an interesting plot again based on a true story where a 16-year-old girl from DPS school appoints me as a life coach. And the irony is that the 16-year-old girl is on her deathbed and she appoints me as a life coach, and we end up having around 12 conversations in those 13 weeks before she succumbs and, becomes one with Earth. Becomes one with the universe. But what we've done is we've captured, Vinay Gupta and I, we have captured all the life lessons that she shares with us from a 16-year-old's perspective. And she didn't just end up kind of sharing life lessons, but she also ended up sharing thoughts related to several burning issues that are plaguing our world, whether it is child sex abuse, whether it is the issue of the refugees, people who don't have a home and are rendered homeless. So we've called the book Weekends with Zoe. Uh, we've changed her name in the book, but her name originally also meant life, and Zoe is Greek for life. So it has similar kind of feel and treatment like a Tuesdays with Maury or my last lecture, right? Which is all about dealing with death and life and understanding life lessons as you come closer to death. And though we've not copied anything, and I'm happy to say I've not read either of the books. I've just read about them, Tuesdays with Maury and the last lecture, and I, of course, heard the TED talk by the author of the last lecture. Uh, but what we've done is we've taken a treatment where we are explaining how the concept of death, how the awareness of death teaches us to value life more and also kind of creates happiness. And it's a proven fact because the Bhutanese teach their children from the age of 7 to pause 5 times a day and remember that they will die one day, to understand their mortality, and this is directly related to happiness. And and then, of course, the life lessons and the social issues that we are dealing with from coming from a child who's 16-year-old and dying. And the reason to kind of share this with the students who are participating in the fellowship is so that they have a perspective that, if Zoe could have such brilliant insights, they all can too, and they can kind of share this with the world through the stories that they write, through their writings, right? And I think that's the advantage of being a writer. You get to share your thoughts and insights with the world. So we are happy to have you as a part of this. We would love to have you as a part of this. Tell us a little more about your literary agency, and who are the authors you managed, and what do you do within that literary agency? The bee and the butterfly, right?
Fan the bee, butterfly and the bee.
The butterfly and the bee. Yeah, sorry.
So I took a step back from this butterfly and the bee around, I think it was in 2015.
Hmm.
So I took a break of, say more than 4 years. I was not in the picture, but I promoted, I worked with a lot of authors, organizing their events. I worked with Jaco Publication. I worked with Penguin for some time. I worked with, at that time, Random House was, a separate entity. So Random House was also there. So a lot of publishers I, got in touch with
Hmm.
and started, promoting image building of the authors, promoting their books on social media, doing, a small events like Readers and Writers Meet, where I used to invite readers and authors. They used to sit together, talk about the books. The discussion used to happen on a particular theme. So these kind of things I was doing with, Butterfly and the Bee, um, launching them, giving them a launch pad, new authors, looking for, publishers. So yes, this is how it has been for a couple of years.
So have
Sorry
you have
regarding it.
are you still doing butterfly and the bee, or
Of
have
course
you?
I am. No, of
Okay,
course I am.
okay.
I think
And you work with authors to kind of do the entire publishing process, is it?
yes, yes. Starting from, editing, getting their books edited. So during lockdown, it has become a lot of mess. For they've been charging a bomb and doing nothing. So giving their, consulting them, how to go about it, find the right
Right,
kind of editor, and proofreading is also very important.
right,
Then
right,
they are, patience is not there anymore. Patience is not there. I have
right,
written my book. Now I just want to get it out in the market.
right.
Okay, if you can't help me, if you feel it's going to take a year, let me go
Right.
self-publish.
Right. And that's another trend that worries me and disturbs me, because there are many writers and authors out there who talk about and feel proudly talk about how they completed a book in 3 months or 6 months, of course, with some ghostwriter or some self-publishing unit. And here I'm struggling. I mean, Weekends with Zoe took us almost 4 years to just get the plotting right, to get the themes right, the revisions and the re-edits, and my Mojosh Inspirator self-help series. Just the first book, which explains the framework, was like 15 years of research and reading over 5,000 books and research papers, 25,000 research papers from some of the best minds in the world, and then another 4.5 years of writing and 5 editors who finally got fed up with me and said, "Jerry, enough." It can't get better than this now. Get it published. And then of course COVID happened, but we've yet to publish it. But I'm no hurry, because the whole idea is to give the readers the experience of their lifetime. I won't say that we will achieve perfection, because perfection is the biggest lie of the world, but to give them something which is as best as I feel my heart and mind could put into it, so that there is no stone unturned in giving the reader the best experience. And that is the kind of effort and diligence that we invest in our books. I invest in my books, right, along with the team that works with me, because I write more of inspiration and self-help books, right? They're not just fictional stories. So I take that a little more seriously, that we need to give the reader the best experience. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, this trend of, I do 3 books in a year, 4 books in a year, and I don't think even the Grishams of the world, or the Jeffrey Archers of the world talk like that. What are your thoughts on this?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's been crazy. It's been crazy. You are not ready to listen to a genuine feedback about the book.
Right,
You're not ready
right,
to work on it.
right,
You think you have achieved something writing 20,000 words or 30,000 words. It's even not even, it's like a novella. And
right,
and it's not about, and it's not, I don't blame them. It's not about every other person has become author, every other person has become publisher also.
right.
You know?
And then you have many literary agencies are also out there who
Yeah.
claim to make authors, like, this famous popular bestsellers, and bestseller in our market is 1,000 books which are sold, right?
Exactly.
Out of which maybe 800 are bought by the author himself,
Author itself.
and distributed free everywhere that they speak, right? So, so I'm sorry, I'm being very cynical about this, but this trend really disturbs me, and I think there is a
And the
need
sad
to
part is
end.
it is still going on.
It is still going on.
It is still going
Yeah.
on.
And I used to meet some of those people in the lit fests. And I think the last lit fest I ever went to was the one where you were also probably there, which was in Mohali in Chandigarh in 2015. After that, I decided not to attend any lit fests at all, because it's such massive egos of people who've accomplished nothing. And it's really a sad kind of an affair. So I've stopped going to the Lit Fest, and many of these are, of course, also sponsored by the gutka companies of the world, which kind of completely kind of disturbs your mind again. That on one side you have a ban on gutkas, you have a ban on pan masalas, and yet you have the Lit Fest, which are supposed to promote knowledge and inspirations, which are actually kind of promoting these gutka companies. So that's another disturbing trend, because I think everything is commercialized, and as long as it can be monetized, nobody gives a damn about the ethics and the ethos of it anymore. So coming back to our storytelling, and this part of the conversation is going to be like a master class about that Sumit Sehgal would have to offer to all the students, all the youth who would learn and benefit from your thoughts and insights and ideas for action on how to write a story, how to tell a story, and how to effectively communicate the same. I had shared the PowerPoint with you in the mail which was shared with you earlier this
Yeah.
morning, and we've shared the process, which is based on Campbell's The Hero's Journey. And of course, it's a process which many script writers in Hollywood use, along with a very powerful tool called Enneagram. I don't know if you've heard of the Enneagram. Enneagram is a tool which helps you to define a personality type, right? There are 9 personality types.
Mm.
And I think very, very accomplished, very, very creative, uh, extremely hard-nosed Hollywood script writers and storytellers and screenboard writers actually kind of adopt the hero's journey. And just to kind of get the PowerPoint up there, this is the process that they follow, right? And this is where I would like to pick your brains about how do you go about telling a story, whether it's a fictional story or a non-fictional story or a self-help story like my Chameleon Soul, right? So this is Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, yeah. And you would see that that process has been used by several authors and writers, uh, and it can be applied to Homer's Odyssey. Yeah, it can be applied to Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, which is a classic cult book, right? So, Kill a Mockingbird. You have Atticus Finch, who's this very, very principled barrister, lawyer, advocate who is living in his ordinary world, practicing law, defending people. And then there's a call to adventure, which is this black man in Sleepy Maycomb, Alabama, who has murdered the rapist who raped his daughter, who is white. And the United States of America at that time, with the Ku Klux Klan kind
Yeah.
of going around. And Alabama was one such place where the Klan was very, very strong and dangerously effective, right? Now, the refusal is that Atticus Finch, knows that if he decides to defend this black man, there would be consequences for him. And then how a mentor helper helps him to cross the threshold, understand who his allies could be, who his enemies could be, the approach that he uses to kind of prepare the defense for the man who's accused of killing the white men who raped his daughter, right? And how he goes through that ordeal, the reward, the road back, the atonement, and the return. How would you kind of use this process? And then, of course, every story always has a hero, a villain, and a victim. And the hero could be a human being, or the hero could be a a process, right? Like if you're addressing a villain like environment, right? The hero could be, what are we doing to address climate change? What are the processes that we are following? And who are the victims? Because when climate change hits all of humanity, all the living beings would be victims. So every story needs that. And then, of course, in every story, you have a plot, you have a character, you have the world. Where in the world would you set it? What is the situation? What is the place? Because it has to kind of uh, again, like I always say, that no, just with a book sitting in your study, you can travel different cities, different villages in a world. And one of the small testimonials which I hold dear to my heart was from Dr. Amartya Sen, who said that, when you listen to Jerry's stories, you can get insights from the villages, from the cities, from the rural hinterlands of India and the world, right? So that's the power of reading again. And every story needs to be told in a language which people can understand. Of course, you and I think in English and write in English, at least I do. And that's the process that is mostly followed, right? And then you have the 5 C's story structure, right? I've shared all this with you. How would you kind of blend in all this and give us a 10-minute masterclass on how Sumit Sehgal goes about telling a story, writing a story which the reader relishes, cherishes, and loves as an experience.
So teaching a student, right, how to go about it, how to write a story,
Right,
correct?
right,
So obviously this, the tools that you share, the techniques that you share, it's obviously there, relevant. But I don't start with this. I want to unleash the creative juices from the young minds.
right.
how to go about it before I come to this, 4 P's or, the C's of storytelling. So there are, I basically start with, talking. First, I obviously have to introduce them to the figurative language. Then I come to, talk. When they are familiar with figurative language, I give them a setting. So,
Hmm.
if the setting is a forest, if a setting is a city, if a setting is a village, so give me some sentences and describe the setting, and then talk about the sensory words, talk about the character traits. So it's all random things I go with my students first,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then how to go into a character's mind. This is where internal monologue comes. So I recently started doing internal monologue with my students. I give them an image
Mm.
of a
Mm.
haunted house, and the protagonist is in the middle of it.
Right.
What is going on in that protagonist's mind? So write about it,
Right.
in first person. So
Mm.
these kind of things I first go about, and then I come up with, the P's and C's of the story structure and storytelling. I
Right.
make them familiarize with, the narrations, maybe in the first person or the third person, and then I go about it. So there are a lot of times I have to come up with, different writing prompts. I give them situations. I give them, this is the character trait, this is the situation, how you'll go about it. So
Right.
it can be a diary entry, it can be a letter to someone, it can be a complete simple narration. So these kind of thing I make them practice, and then I come up with, a theme. And
Right.
this is how I go about. This is how I feel that, a student,
R-
they
Very
want to
nice.
write something good. So this is how
Very
I.
nice. And that's your process, and I love it and appreciate it and kind of absolutely kind of endorse it. But if I had to kind of put a gun to your head and say, Sumit, now create a masterclass on the process that I've just prompted you with, right? And remember, there's a gun to your head, and like Bernardo Bertolucci used to actually keep a gun in case his crew went sleeping while they were filming something. I'm mad enough to pull the trigger. So how would you go about taking us to that master class now?
Masterclass of story.
Not from a book, from sorry, from Sumit Segal's insight.
Uh, So obviously, when I so if given a particular theme, you have to first work on a particular theme that you want to work on. All right. So then coming up with the setting, the build up. So there are 5 stages there that I go with to build up a complete good short story. So starting with the kind of characters you want to put in,
Right,
and uh, so once you come up with the characters and the theme is set, where is the setting? Where would be
right,
the setting?
right.
So where would
So
you
when you
start?
say characters, how many heroes or how many villains would you have in a story? Is there a cap, or do you think one can be creatively unleashed?
So
Like
see,
like if you see a Harry Potter series, there's Harry Potter who's the hero, but there could be
so,
multiple villains, right?
well,
Even in a Percy Jackson. So what are your
yes.
thoughts on that?
I always prefer to go with supporting characters. Supporting
Okay,
characters make the story very interesting.
okay,
You can have one main character, one main hero is there, and
right,
maybe you have 2 3 villains, right?
right,
But I think supporting characters makes the story interesting for the hero to achieve the goal, whatever the goal is.
right, right,
Supporting characters will make interesting. So this is what we've been working on the second book,
right,
which is on modern fables. So
right.
yes, so we are working on more on supporting characters, making it interesting for the
Right. And
character.
and and when you say modern fables, are these again fictional stories,
Fictional stories.
imaginative stories, or real stories?
Fiction stories with the moral to it in the end. So they're coming up with different morals. So don't cheat, never
Yeah.
lie, always tell the
Right.
truth,
Right.
respect
Right.
your elders.
Right.
With talking
Yeah.
animals. Talking
Right.
animals will be the characters, the main
Very
characters.
nice. I used to love those stories with the moral of the story. Of course, I think what works in today's world, and this is purely in my humble opinion, but my insight, what works in today's world, and I say this since I do a lot of one-to-many trainings in organizations or in schools with teachers and students and parents. What really works is kind of having an insight or an idea for action built into the story, right? Like what we do in the Karma Kari series. And I'll share more about this in a separate conversation with you about what our Mojosh Inspirator learning to learn framework is all about. And learning to learn in the past few years has been now discovered to be the most essential skill of the future, because most of us go to school and college and we study, we don't learn, right? And somewhere accidentally by default I happen to have created that concept. But the whole idea is to kind of apply the learning to learn formula or framework or system to the storytelling fellowship that we are rolling out in schools this year. And two students who've been featured in the author experience conversations in the past few Sundays, and I think you probably have a role in working with one of them, which is Kashvi. uh, have kind of completely endorsed that this is the need of the hour and is very essential in schools right now, because there is no initiative like this anywhere, right? And which makes me think about why have no lit fests really kind of promoted something like this. And I'm happy that we are the first doing it the first again. It's again related to the Karmavir Awards, which I can see up there in a
Yes.
frame right up there, and I'm so happy to see that, right? It kind of gives you a feeling that you're working in the right
I'm proud of it.
direction again. Right.
This motivates me every day, this
Very nice,
motivates
and
me.
that's music to my ears, Sumit. So I'm going to have I didn't give you enough time to prepare for the storytelling masterclass today, and that's what we do with all our authors, because the whole idea is to get some extempore uh, insights from them. But yes, we'll have another masterclass with you, maybe a shorter one, 15-20 minutes, which will be specifically. And now that you've shown interest in being part of the storytelling fellowship, we will have a separate conversation on that also. So before we close, any uh, life lessons that have inspired you that you would want to leave our audience behind with? And once again, a big thank you to all the people in the audience for joining us on the author experience conversations. Please do buy Sumit's book on Amazon. He's too modest and humble to say that, so I'm going to say that for him. Please do buy his books, his anthologies, especially the anthologies, because many children are featured in those books, and you'll get some great morals and lessons from students who shared their stories. So over to you, Sumit Sehgal. 3 to 5 life lessons that have uh, really kind of inspired the shaping and the making of Sumit Sehgal.
Patience is one.
Okay.
Patience is one. Positive thinking. Uh, Love. It took me a lot of years to finally realize that, the most important thing is not to, so you have to love yourself. I
Right.
choose to do this. So I've started, I have a lot of patience. And then positive, yes, have, I can say I've started, this positive thoughts, positive thinking. Music is very important for my life. So,
Mm.
listen to good music. And then obviously loving myself. So
Wow.
there's a very
Self-love. And a
self.
lot of people, end up thinking self-love is vanity or narcissism. Unfortunately, without realizing that without loving the self, you really can't love others, right? Because and self-love is directly related to self-awareness, self-discovery, self-development, self-transformation. And the biggest uh, uh, problem of the world, the biggest deficit of the world today, which is self-esteem, where because people don't have self-esteem, they're always looking for validation by doing some
I
nonsensical
used to be
stuff,
like that.
brainless stuff on reels or on social media. Like, several people do this thing called the pushpa dance nowadays, or some kind of nonsensical nonsense, and they put it up on reels just to get validation from strangers who don't matter, right? Because it's called self-esteem, not other people's esteem. So do you want to unpack self-love and loving the self a little more for us in maybe a minute's time before we close?
Selfless, yes, rightly said. People, boasting about themselves and, self. What was it that you were talking about?
Self-esteem.
No,
discovery, development,
Validation
transformation,
from people, validation from people.
validation from people.
Validation. I used to do like that a lot. Validation from people. It was very important for me. Oh my God. And even if about, Facebook likes, I didn't get many likes. I didn't get many views. I didn't get many hearts. So self-love is, spending time with yourself. Introspect every evening, what you've done, what is, not being a serious thought to it, but
Right.
yes,
Absolutely.
your own
Absolutely.
company is very important, and people are not in their own company. They're looking for people. They're hungry for I don't know what. So I've
Yes.
it took me some time, but trust me, this selfless that we are talking about right now is very important. It is
Yes.
free of the hour.
It is very important because it kind of leads to great self awareness, self discovery, self development, transformation, and most of all, what is today the biggest deficit of the world, self esteem, because most of our validation, all our validation should come from within and maybe the inner circle, which means our closest family and friends. We don't need validation from all and sundry. It's absolutely bunkum and not required at all. And I think one of the big things which you kind of touched upon is that self-love leads to this entire process of understanding what my strengths are and how can I enhance those strengths, and what my weaknesses are and how can I work on those weaknesses to transform them into strengths, because weaknesses are nothing but opportunities waiting to happen, right?
Yes.
And then of course understanding how, like I say, what can I stop doing, start doing, and continue doing to become better versions of myself every day. So thank you so much for that, Sumit Sehgal. Pleasure as always connecting with you, chatting with you, having this conversation with you, and keep doing the good work that you're doing with children. And surely this year, after 3 years of the pandemic, lockdown, last year also there was a fear psychosis about the pandemic breaking out again, so we didn't do the Karmavir Awards live ceremony that we do every year. But this year we are reviving it, so we will be in touch. You surely deserve the gold this year for all the great noble work that you're doing with children and guiding their parents, because I always say you can't, if the child is at the apex of the triangle, to make the child more progressive, to make the child better, we also need to address the base of the triangle. And the base of the triangle is unfortunately the parents and the educators, and of course the overall education system and society in which we are teaching children to become blinkered, mindless, doers and followers rather than making them into thought leaders. And the reason I say this is because, I mean, we are discussing books here. If children are scoring 100% in English literature in their board exams, that itself tells you that our education system is flawed. But more than that, that the mindsets of parents and teachers and educators are flawed, because if a child is getting 100% in English literature or philosophy, it means that we have killed their creative thinking, their critical thinking, their logical thinking process, and made them into mindless followers. And you can see that in our world today. People who just follow anything and everything that is said to them, whether it's fake news or false propaganda, without thinking, without questioning, without dissenting. And I think that is what is the need of the hour today. So thank you, Sumit, once again, and pleasure having you with us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure's all
You're
mine.
welcome. And thank you to everyone for joining us on Facebook Live.